Thank you all for coming, and thank you to Jamie and Tom and the Pioneer Institute for asking me here. It's a real pleasure. As Tom mentioned, Boston's a great labor city, as it is for a lot of history, so it's always fun for a historian to come and visit. I was drawn to the subject of labor history in 2007, actually, some years before Wisconsin put labor back in the nation's headlines. I was curious why so many people automatically disparaged unions or acted as if the subject was best ignored. I was old enough to recall a far different time, when union leaders like Walter Reuther and George Meany were respected voices. They were on TV news and radio, were widely quoted, and presidents sought their views. Scenes of labor's early struggles in my school textbooks, Mother Jones leading a march on behalf of miners, Detroit auto workers staging a sit-in, were depicted in much the same heroic vein as Washington crossing the Delaware. I wondered, how could something once so important, a movement that engaged millions of Americans, that gave us the 8-hour day, health benefits, the weekend, and exercised a civilizing influence on society, have fallen into such disrepute? How had a story so vast, it reached from elite New York boardrooms to the hills of West Virginia, disappeared from common memory? Part of the answer I found was that while I'd imagined there to have been a golden age for unions and a steady, chronological march of progress, in fact, advance had been sporadic and always fiercely resisted. Unions have never been especially popular in America. The right to property, to own and conduct a business, these were concepts held sacred. Not so the prospect of workers joining together to leverage power. As one historian has noted, the subversive thing about labor is not the strike, but the idea of solidarity. I chose my book's title from a song by Joe Hill, "There is Power in a Union," because it seemed to most directly the answer to the question, why do workers need unions? Workers need unions because without them they are just resources. But through union solidarity, they gain dignity and a voice. They become human beings. Labor history hasn't been simply a matter of capital resisting labor's demands and labor pushing back. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, unionized workers seemed a tangible threat to society. Communists, socialists, anarchists, Molly Maguires. When a labor rally in Chicago in the 1880s brought actual veterans of the Paris Commune of 1871 on stage to speak, local business saw revolution at hand. A judge in New York in 1909 scolded teenage garment workers arrested for picketing, "You were on strike against God." And in the next decade, Big Bill Haywood, Emma Goldman, Eugene Debs, and many others were silenced through ginned-up prosecutions, prison, and deportation. Unions do exist by definition to make trouble. How can it be otherwise? They're not the Boy Scouts or a church choir. They're dynamic organizations charged with life and death issues. They strike, argue, protest, and cause inconvenience. But are these failings or signs of robust democracy? And let's not leave off foolish, inept, even corrupt. Unions can be all those things. Yet we lose patience with them so readily and seem to hold them to standards no other institution in our society ever meets, from Congress to Hollywood to the New England Patriots. Part of their challenge is that labor unions have always had to play catch-up, always reacting to the moves of capital, to new laws, to new technology. The introduction of diesel trains made the locomotive fireman's job obsolete. Recorded music replaced the 8-piece orchestra. Globalization removed manufacturing workers' bargaining leverage by removing their jobs. Large local worker populations in urban America dispersed. The long-held taboo against scab labor disappeared through incidents such as the Boston police strike of 1919, when the city called in the Harvard football team to replace striking patrolmen, and Governor Calvin Coolidge became a national hero by declaring, "There is no right to strike against the public safety by anybody, anywhere, anytime." Ronald Reagan would invoke Coolidge's admonition in 1981 when he fired 11,000 striking air traffic controllers in what proved an epical defeat for American labor. Reagan's actions signaled the beginning of an era of diminished union power and the now widespread use of replacement, contingency, part-time, and on-demand workers with no rights or benefits.